The sound of a hand striking skin echoed through the crystal and velvet of the gilded compass. It wasn't the loudest sound of the night. The clatter of a dropped fork would have been louder. But the silence that followed was deafening. Every conversation, every clinking glass, every hushed whisper of the city's elite stopped. All eyes turned to Table 7, to the towering billionaire, Gregory Alden, and to the shy, trembling waitress, Anna, who now held a blazing red handprint on her cheek. He had called her a thief, but in a moment she would make a call that would turn his entire world to ice. The Gilded Compass was not a restaurant. It was a statement. Perched on the 60th floor of the Titan Tower, it was a terrarium for the city's wealthiest, a place where fortunes were discussed over $500 steaks and $8,000 bottles of wine. The staff were trained to be invisible, to anticipate needs without being seen, to be ghosts in tailored black uniforms. And Anna was the best ghost they had. At 24, Anna was a study in quiet efficiency. Her mousy brown hair was pulled back in a severe, mandated bun, and her uniform, while clean, seemed to hang on her slightly, as if she were trying to take up less space in the world. She was the shy waitress the other staff sometimes protected, sometimes pitied. She never spoke above a soft murmur. Her eyes were almost always cast downward, and she possessed a preternatural ability to be forgotten the moment she turned away from a table. What they didn't know was that Anna's shyness was a shield. Her quietness was not emptiness. It was observation. She saw everything. She saw Mr. Henderson at table 3, who was quietly dining with his mistress for the 3rd time this month, while his wife's charity gala played on the lounge TV. She saw Miss Cartwright at the bar, discreetly slipping her platinum card to the bartender, paying for the chance encounter she was about to have with a young actor. And tonight, she saw Mr. Gregory Alden at table 7. He hadn't so much as arrived as conquered the table. Gregory Alden was a man built from sharp angles and loud, aggressive success. A tech billionaire who had clawed his way to the top. He believed the world was divided into predators and prey, and he had no intention of being the latter. He was tall, with a harsh, handsome face, and wore an outrageously expensive watch, a titanium skeletonized custom piece that he seemed to check every 30 seconds, as if daring time itself to be late. His date, a stunning woman named Laura, looked less like a companion and more like an accessory he'd chosen to match his watch. "Is this the best you can do?" Gregory had snapped at the host, gesturing to the table, which had one of the best views in the city. I wanted the corner. "My apologies, Mr. Alden. That table was reserved 2 months ago." "By whom? Someone more important than me?" "Unlikely." Anna had watched from the service station, her stomach tightening. She was assigned his section. This was going to be a long night. For the first hour, it was a barrage of low-grade tyranny. "This water is tepid," he complained, after taking a large gulp of the ice water Anna had just poured. "Are you chilling it with your body heat? Get me bottled. Evian, from a new bottle where I can see you open it." Anna murmured, "Yes, sir," and retrieved it. "This bread," he said, poking a $30 artisan sourdough loaf, "is cold. Is the chef on vacation? Take it back and tell him to find a new profession." "Right away, sir." Laura, his date, simply smiled, a placid, doll-like expression, as if she were immune to his behavior, or perhaps paid to be. Anna moved through the section with her usual silent grace, refilling his water before it was half empty, clearing plates with the brush of a feather. She was trying to de-escalate, to be so perfect, so invisible, that he would have nothing left to criticize. But men like Gregory Alden don't look for perfection. They look for a target. "The girl," he said loudly to Laura, gesturing with his fork while Anna was just 5 feet away, clearing a neighboring table. She's, what's the word? Slow. You'd think for what they charge here, they could hire staff with a personality, or at least a pulse. Laura giggled, a high, tinkling sound. Greg, be nice. She's just a waitress. That's the point. She's a servant. She's here to serve. And she can't even get that right. Anna's back was to him, but she felt the words like tiny, sharp needles. She took a steadying breath, reminding herself of why she was here. This job, this minimum wage, high-stress, deeply humiliating job, was a promise. It was her own personal test. "You want to understand the people, Anna?" her father had asked, his voice laced with concern. "You won't find them on the 60th floor." "I want to understand the business, Dad," she had argued, from the floor up. No trust fund, no special treatment. Just me. He had reluctantly agreed. So here she was, Anna Bishop, sole heiress to the Bishop Consolidated Empire, a web of 5-star hotels, international banks, and the very building Gregory Alden was currently sitting in, scrubbing wine stains and biting her tongue for $7.24 an hour plus tips. She returned to table 7. "Is everything to your liking with the main course, sir?" Gregory was busy on his phone, a custom-made, impossibly thin device with a brushed platinum casing. It was an Alden Tech prototype, his new world beater he'd been bragging about on social media for weeks. It was, he claimed, worth more than her entire life. He didn't look up. "It's food. Barely." He finished his call, slamming the $50,000 phone down on the white tablecloth next to his plate. He took a bite of his steak, chewed, and scowled. "Pathetic," he muttered. He pushed the plate away, half full. "Are you just going to stand there, or are you going to clear this?" "My apologies, sir," Anna said, her voice a whisper. She moved in, her practiced hands reaching for his plate and his dates. It was a careful choreography. Left hand for the plates, right hand to gather the heavy silver cutlery, all while keeping her head bowed and her presence minimal. She stacked his plate on top of Laura's, secured the knife and fork, and turned to leave. She had taken exactly 3 steps toward the kitchen when the roar came. "Stop! You!" Anna froze. She turned back, her heart a cold stone in her chest. Gregory Alden was on his feet, his chair scraping violently against the floor. His face was a mask of crimson rage. His date, Laura, had her hands over her mouth, her eyes wide. "My phone!" Gregory spat, his voice dangerously low, yet carrying across the now quieting restaurant. "Sir?" Anna asked, confused. "My phone. My prototype." He pointed at the empty spot on the tablecloth where the platinum device had been. "It's gone. And you. You were the only one here." The air in the gilded compass became thin, crystalline. The background chatter of the city's elite didn't just quiet, it was sucked from the room. Anna stood frozen, the heavy, half-eaten plates still in her left hand. "Sir, I don't understand. Don't play dumb with me." Gregory Alden's voice was a cannon blast in the hushed room. He strode toward her, his large, imposing frame forcing her to take an involuntary step back. "You just cleared the table. My phone was right there, and now it's gone. You took it." "No." Anna's voice was a small, shocked gasp. "No, sir, I would never. I just cleared the plates." "Exactly. A little plate-clearing magic trick, right? You palm the phone, slide it under a plate, and walk off. Did you think I wouldn't notice?" "Sir, I assure you." "Don't sir me, you little thief!" From the corner, the restaurant manager, Mr. Davies, was gliding over, his face a practiced mask of pained concern. Davies was a man who lived by one rule: the biggest wallet is always right. "Mr. Alden, sir, what seems to be the trouble?" Davies said, his voice a soothing, obsequious balm. The trouble, Gregory snarled, is that your employee just stole my phone, a prototype worth over $50,000, and that's just the hardware. The data on it is worth billions. Davies's blood ran cold. He turned his anxious, ferret-like eyes on Anna. Anna, what is this about? Mr. Davies, I didn't, Anna pleaded, her voice trembling. She hated this. She hated the feeling of 100 pairs of eyes dissecting her. I just took his plates. The phone must be... Maybe it slipped on the floor? Gregory let out a harsh, barking laugh. Oh, on the floor. Right, I'm sure. Why don't you check your pockets, sweetheart? Or maybe, he said, his eyes raking over her uniform. You've got it tucked somewhere else. The insinuation was vile, and it made Anna flush with a mix of shame and anger. I did not take your phone. Mr. Alden, please, Davies interjected, wringing his hands. I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. Anna, why don't you just turn out your apron pockets? Just to, clear the air. Anna looked at her manager, her supposed protector, and saw nothing but a man desperate to appease the barking wolf. This wasn't about finding a phone. It was about a sacrifice. And she was the goat being tied to the post. Mr. Davies, Do it, Gregory commanded. Empty your pockets, or do I have to call the police and have them strip search you? Because I will ruin you. The threat hung in the air, heavy and toxic. Anna looked around. The diners were not on her side. They were watching a show. Some looked faintly disgusted, but most just looked entertained. This was drama. This was something to talk about later. With a shaking hand, Anna put the heavy plates down on a nearby service tray. Her apron pockets contained a crump-coated lighter, 2 pens, her order notepad, and $34 in tips she'd been stiffed on by an earlier table. She pulled the white fabric of the pockets inside out. See, she said, her voice barely audible. Nothing. Gregory sneered. Smart. You already passed it off, didn't you? Slipped it to one of your kitchen buddies? Or maybe you just ditched it in the bus pan. He was advancing on her again. Davies was uselessly flapping his hands. Sir, the young lady has shown... The young lady is a liar, Gregory roared. He was just inches from her now. The smell of his expensive, peppery cologne was overwhelming. I know you're kind. You see people like me, you see what we have, and you get jealous. You think you're entitled to it. You think you can just take it. I am not a thief, Anna said, and she was shocked to hear the strength in her own voice. It was still quiet, but the tremble was gone. It was replaced by a cold, hard ember of defiance. She met his eyes. It was the worst thing she could have done. Gregory Alden was not a man who was ever told no. He was not a man who was ever looked in the eye by a shy waitress and contradicted. His world was built on the foundation of his own infallibility. Her defiance, her quiet, sudden lack of fear, broke something in his brain. It was a glitch in his reality. He saw her not as a person, but as an error that needed to be corrected. What did you say to me? He whispered, his face darkening. I said, Anna repeated, her chin lifting, I am not a thief. Mr. Alden, sir, please, let's all just calm down, Davies pleaded, reaching a tentative hand for Gregory's arm. Gregory swatted the hand away like it was a gnat. Don't you dare talk back to me. You are nothing. He didn't even see it coming. It was a reflex, a primal, spoiled brat reaction to being denied. His hand moved in a blur. Crack! The sound of his open palm connecting with her cheek was sickening. Anna stumbled back, crashing into the service tray. The plates from table 7, the half-eaten $500 steak, and the heavy ceramic all went crashing to the floor. shattering in a mess of porcelain and demi-glace. The restaurant, the city, the world stopped. Anna's hand flew to her cheek. It was stinging, a throbbing, fiery pain that was already bringing tears to her eyes. But the pain in her cheek was nothing compared to the white-hot humiliation that burned in her chest. He had hit her, in front of everyone. Gregory Alden stood there, his hand still slightly raised, his chest heaving. He looked surprised, not with regret, but with the sheer audacity of what he'd just done. He'd crossed a line, and now he had to justify it. She's a thief, he shouted at the shocked room, as if that explained it. She's a criminal. She tried to steal from me. She probably tried to attack me. Laura, his date, had gone pale. "Greg, shut up, Laura," Mr. Davies was sputtering. "Sir, you can't. That was... my goodness." Anna just knelt on the floor, surrounded by broken ceramic, her vision blurring with tears she refused to let fall. She felt broken. The promise to herself. The test. It was all a stupid, naive, childish game. Her father was right. There was no understanding this. This was just cruelty. "Call the police, Davies," Gregory commanded, straightening his suit jacket, regaining his composure. "Call them now. I am pressing charges for theft and for assaulting my sensibilities." "Yes, Mr. Alden. Right away, Mr. Alden." Davies was already fumbling for his own phone. Anna watched him, her mind a cold, silent blank. The game was over. She had failed. She had wanted to prove she could make it on her own, and in the end, she was just a girl on a floor covered in steak sauce, being arrested for a crime she didn't commit after being assaulted by a monster. But as Mr. Davies fumbled with his phone, Anna's hand slipped into the other pocket of her apron, the one she hadn't shown, the one that didn't hold tips or pens. It held her real phone. It was an old, battered, nondescript black phone. A 5-year-old model with a cracked screen that her father's security team insisted she carry. It had no social media, no games, no flashy case. It had one function. It had a single button on the side that, when held for 3 seconds, dialed one number. A number that wasn't listed in any phone book on Earth. A number that could, and had, toppled governments and moved markets. Gregory saw her pull it out. He let out a snort of derisive laughter. "What are you doing now, thief? Calling your loser boyfriend to come bail you out? Calling your mummy? It's too late for that. You are finished." Anna's thumb pressed the button. She held it. 1, 2, 3. The phone vibrated once. It was dialing. She raised the phone to her ear, her eyes, now clear and cold as glacial ice, fixed on Gregory Alden. The room was so quiet, the diners could hear the faint ring from her earpiece. And then a voice answered. Not with hello, but with a simple, quiet, "Yes?" Anna took a shaky breath, the tears finally welling. But her voice was steady. "Dad?" she said, her voice cracking on the single word. I need you." A wave of confused silence rippled through the diners. Gregory Alden's face, which had been a mask of rage, contorted into one of pure, derisive mockery. "Dad!" he boomed, letting out a short, barking laugh. She called her daddy. Oh, this is rich. What's he going to do, sweetheart? Drive down here in his 1998 Toyota Corolla and offer to pay for my phone? Is he going to ground you? His date, Laura, who had been pale with shock, now giggled nervously, relieved that Gregory's focus was no longer on his own violence, but on this new, pathetic development. Mr. Davies, who had been about to dial 911, paused, his thumb hovering over his screen. He looked at Anna, kneeling in the wreckage of plates and food, and a deep, profound pity filled him. Not for her, but for himself, for being stuck in this deeply unprofessional situation. "Anna, please," Davies whispered, a desperate whine in his voice. "Just give the phone back. We can forget this. Mr. Alden, perhaps we can just compensate you for the phone and for the inconvenience?" Gregory's head snapped toward Davies. "Compensate me? Do you have any idea who I am? I don't want compensation. I want justice. I want this little gutter snipe in handcuffs." On the other end of the line, the voice was calm, but with an underlying tension, a coiled spring. "Anna, what is it? What's wrong? Your beacon is active. I'm seeing your location. The gilded compass?" "Dad." Anna's voice was thick with unshed tears. "I'm at work. A man, a customer. He accused me of stealing his phone." "What?" The voice sharpened. "Are you all right? Are you safe?" Anna's breath hitched. She looked up, past the worried face of Mr. Davies, and locked eyes with the smug, triumphant sneer of Gregory Alden. "He slapped me, Dad, in the middle of the restaurant. He hit me." The silence on the other end of the phone was absolute. It was not a silence of disconnection. It was the silence of a star collapsing. It was a vacuum into which all sound and light was being pulled. When the voice spoke again, it was unrecognizable. It was no longer a father's voice. It was something else. It was the sound of iron being forged at absolute zero. "Anna, what is his name?" Gregory was still laughing, posturing for the room. "Is Daddy on his way? I hope he brings his checkbook. This is going to cost him." "Anna," the voice on the phone repeated, harder this time. "The name of the man who hit you." His name is Gregory Alden," Anna whispered. "Gregory Alden," the voice repeated. It was not a question. It was a statement, a fact being entered into a ledger. "I see. Put him on the phone." "What?" Anna's eyes went wide. "Put the man who hit you on the phone. Now." Anna's hand was shaking so badly she could barely hold the cracked device. She slowly, painfully, got to her feet. Ignoring the shards of porcelain grinding under her sensible work shoes, she walked toward Gregory Alden, her hand outstretched, offering the phone. Gregory looked at the old, battered device with utter contempt. "What is this? You want me to talk to him? You want him to beg for you?" He wants to speak to you," Anna said, her voice small. A new wave of amusement rolled through Gregory. This was the pinnacle of his night. He would now, in front of everyone, get to tell this girl's father just what a pathetic, thieving disappointment his daughter was. He snatched the phone from her hand. "Hello?" He barked into the receiver, a cruel smirk on his face. "Yes, this is Gregory Alden. You're speaking to the man whose $50,000 phone your daughter just stole. And yes, I slapped her. She's lucky I didn't break her jaw. Now, whatever pathetic offer you're about to make, save it. I'm having her arrested." He paused, expecting to hear a man crying, begging or yelling. He heard nothing for 3 full seconds. Then, the voice came through the earpiece. It was quiet. It was clear. And it was a voice that Gregory Alden had heard before. It was a voice he'd heard in boardrooms. A voice that had come through a speakerphone from a private jet. A voice that had, 3 months prior, approved a 9-figure line of credit for Alden Tech's new hardware division. Gregory. The smirk on Gregory Alden's face didn't just fade, it was wiped clean, as if by a chemical solvent. His posture, which had been puffed up and dominant, instantly deflated. His broad shoulders slumped, and the color drained from his face, leaving behind a sick, grayish-white pallor. He froze. His eyes, wide with a sudden, dawning, unimaginable terror, darted from the phone in his hand to the shy waitress in front of him. He looked at her mousy hair, her cheap uniform, her face, which still bore the red, angry mark of his hand. And then he looked again, really looked, and for the first time, he saw the high, defined cheekbones. He saw the unusual, clear, steel-grey eyes. They were eyes he had seen before, across a vast mahogany table, in a face that commanded the loyalty of senators and the fear of 1,000 CEOs. "This is Martin Bishop," the voice continued, as calm as an executioner's blade. "You are at my restaurant, in my building. You have accused my daughter of theft. And you have put your hands on her." Gregory's mouth opened, but no sound came out. A small, wet, gasping noise. His hand, the one holding the phone, was trembling so violently that he almost dropped it. Mr. Bishop," he stammered. The entire restaurant, which had been waiting for the next shout, was now so quiet that his stammer seemed to echo. "Sir, I don't... There must be a mistake." "There is no mistake, Gregory." Martin Bishop's voice was as cold as a grave. "You have just made the single greatest error of your short, brutish life. I am 5 minutes away. Do not move." The line clicked dead. Gregory Alden stood there, the phone still held to his ear, his arm locked in place. He was a statue, a monument to his own spectacular ruin. The bravado, the rage, the entitlement, it all evaporated, leaving behind a hollow, terrified shell. "Greg?" His date, Laura, whispered, her voice laced with a new fear. She had never seen him look like this. "Greg, what is it? Who was that?" Gregory didn't answer. He couldn't. His brain was furiously trying to compute what had just happened. Anna Bishop, Martin Bishop, the reclusive, almost mythical, multi-billionaire. The man who owned Bishop Consolidated. The man who owned the bank that held Gregory's entire company in its financial grip. The man who, with a single phone call, could have Gregory Alden's assets frozen, his credit lines revoked, and his company dismantled for parts before the sun came up. And this was his daughter. This waitress, this thief, was Anna Bishop. Gregory's gaze fell to the floor, to the mess of food and broken plates, and there, half hidden under a shard of ceramic, glinting in the low light, was his platinum phone. It must have been vibrated by his last call and slipped between the seat cushion and the banquette, falling to the floor when he stood up. He hadn't lost it. It had never been stolen. He had just slapped the daughter of the most powerful man in the city. For nothing. The entire room was watching him. They had seen his rage. They had seen his violence. And now, they were seeing his terror. The atmosphere had shifted. The show was not over. It had just reached its climax. Gregory's knees felt weak. He slowly lowered the phone from his ear and held it out to Anna, his hand shaking uncontrollably. Miss Bishop," he whispered. The name felt like acid on his tongue. It's right there. The phone. It was here all along. A misunderstanding. A terrible, terrible misunderstanding." Anna looked at the phone in his trembling hand. She looked at the pathetic, cowering man who, just moments before, had been a roaring titan. She didn't take the phone. Instead, she turned to Mr. Davies. The manager was frozen in a posture of exquisite, agonizing conflict. His loyalty, which had been so simple to determine, always side with the money, was now hopelessly fractured. He had just sided against the money. He had sided against the owner. He had threatened to call the police on the daughter of the man who signed his and his boss's and his boss's paychecks. "Mr. Davies," Anna said, and her voice was no longer the mousy, shy whisper he was used to. It was clear, it was cold, and it held the unmistakable ancestral ring of command. Miss Bishop," Davies squeaked, his face slick with a sudden cold sweat. I had no idea. My apologies. If I had known, You were going to have me arrested," Anna stated. It was not a question. "No, yes, I was just... Mr. Alden is a very valued customer, and he was so insistent. I was just trying to de-escalate." "De-escalate," Anna repeated, the word tasting strange. "By letting him call me a thief? By demanding I empty my pockets in front of the entire restaurant? By standing there and doing nothing when he hit me?" Each word was a small, sharp blade, and Davies visibly flinched at each one. Please, Miss Bishop, I have a family. Find his phone, Mr. Davies," Anna said, cutting off his pathetic babbling. "But he found it. It's right there." "No," Anna said, pointing to the mess on the floor. "The one he found, under the table. Get it." Humiliation washed over Davies's face, but he knew he had no choice. It was either this or unemployment. Immediately, he dropped to his hands and knees, scrambling in the puddle of demi-glace and shards of porcelain. He grunted as he reached under the table, his pristine black suit jacket dragging through the mess. He emerged, holding the platinum prototype between two fingers, as if it were a dirty diaper. He held it up to Gregory. "Here, sir. Mr. Alden. Your phone?" Gregory Alden didn't even look at it. His eyes were fixed on the restaurant's main entrance, his face a mask of primal fear. He was watching the elevator doors, waiting for the executioner to arrive. And then, the doors opened. The Gilded Compass did not have bouncers. It had a reception team. But the two men who stepped out of the elevator first were not on the restaurant's payroll. They were built of solid granite, dressed in dark, impeccably tailored suits with earpieces that were not for show. They scanned the room in a single professional sweep, their eyes lingering for a half-second on Gregory Alden, cataloguing him, before they fanned out, one moving to block the service entrance, the other standing by the elevator. Then Martin Bishop walked in. He was not a physically imposing man. Unlike Gregory, he didn't need to be. Where Gregory was a loud, garish explosion of new money and brutalist architecture, Martin Bishop was quiet, old-world power. He was in his late 50s, with a shock of silver hair and the steel-grey eyes he had passed on to his daughter. He wore a simple, dark cashmere sweater and trousers, as if he had just come from his library. He didn't shout, he didn't run. He walked. He walked past the reception desk, past the gawking diners, past the terrified Mr. Davies, and he did not stop until he was standing directly in front of his daughter. He ignored everyone else. He ignored the billionaire, the broken plates, the entire silent audience. He reached out a gentle hand and lightly, almost imperceptibly, touched the red, swelling mark on Anna's cheek. His eyes closed for a single, pained second. "Anna," he said, his voice quiet for her ears only, "are you all right?" And with that one simple question, the dam broke. The adrenaline, the shock, the humiliation, the rage, it all came crashing down. The tears she had refused to shed in front of her attacker now flowed freely. She wasn't just crying for the slap. She was crying for the insults, for the humiliation of the job, for the failure of her experiment, and for the overwhelming, terrible relief of knowing her father was there. She fell into his arms, burying her face in his cashmere sweater, and sobbed. "He hit me, Daddy. He just hit me." Martin Bishop held her, his hand rubbing her back, his eyes still closed. He was rocking her gently, murmuring, "It's all right, Annabine. I'm here. It's over. I'm here." For a full 30 seconds, the only sound in the 60th floor restaurant was the quiet, muffled sobbing of the heiress to the Bishop Consolidated Empire. Gregory Alden watched this, and a single, desperate, pathetic sliver of hope entered his heart. It's a father-daughter moment, he thought. He's a father. He'll be merciful. He just wants his daughter. Maybe I can apologize. Pay. Make this go away. Finally, Anna's sobs subsided. Martin Bishop gave her a final squeeze, kissed the top of her head, and then, very gently, set her behind him. He had placed his body between his daughter and her attacker. Only then did he turn. He looked at Gregory Alden. The room held its breath. They were expecting a confrontation, yelling, threats, a clash of titans. But Martin Bishop just looked at him with a kind of weary, profound disappointment. "Gregory," he said, his voice calm, "you were a guest in my building. You were a business partner I had, provisionally, trusted. You drank my wine, you ate my food, and you put your hands on my child. Martin, Mr. Bishop, sir," Gregory stammered, his hands raised in a gesture of surrender. I cannot tell you how sorry I am. I didn't know. I swear to God, I had no idea she was your daughter. I thought she stole my phone. It was a mistake, an honest, a terrible, but honest mistake." Martin Bishop's gaze flickered to Laura, Gregory's date, who looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her. "And you? Did you also think she was a thief?" Laura looked at Martin Bishop, then at Gregory, and she made a very quick, very cold calculation. He's insane," she said, her voice shaking but clear. "He's been drinking. He just went crazy. This girl, she didn't do anything. He just attacked her." She snatched her purse from the table. "I'm not with him. I'm leaving." And she darted for the elevator, a rat deserting a ship that was not just sinking, but already at the bottom of the ocean. Gregory looked at her retreating back, betrayal and panic warring on his face. "Laura! Wait! She's lying!" "It doesn't matter," Martin Bishop said, his voice cutting through Gregory's panic. "The question, Gregory, is not what you thought. The question is why you thought it. Because she was a waitress? Because she was invisible? Because you believed you had the right? No, I was stressed, the prototype. It's my whole quarter." "It was on the floor," Martin said, gesturing to the phone still clutched in Davies's hand. "You didn't even bother to look. You found a target, the weakest person in the room, the one you thought had no one to call, the one you thought you could crush, and no one would care." Martin took a step closer. Gregory, a man a head taller and 100 pounds heavier, flinched and took a step back. "And you," Martin said, his voice dropping to a terrifying whisper, "you hit her." I... Gregory was finished. He had no words. He was a cornered animal. Martin turned his gaze to Mr. Davies, who was still kneeling, clutching the phone. "You!" "Sir," Davies yelped. "You are the manager here?" "Yes, sir. Michael Davies, My Deep, you're fired." It was said so quietly, so conversationally, that Davies almost didn't register it. "Sir." "You are fired," Martin repeated, a little louder. "You allowed a guest, any guest, to be physically assaulted in your restaurant. Not only did you fail to protect your staff, you sided with the attacker. You threatened my daughter. You have failed at the most basic, fundamental level of your job. The men at the door will take your keys and escort you from the premises. Do not bother cleaning out your office. We will have its contents incinerated." Davies's face crumpled. It was done. His career, his life, over. He just knelt there, unmoving, the phone slipping from his fingers. Then, Martin Bishop turned back to Gregory Alden. His face was unreadable. "Please," Gregory whispered. He was openly weeping now. Tears of terror and self-pity streamed down his face. "Please, Martin, Mr. Bishop, don't ruin me. I have a company, hundreds of employees. Please, I'll pay, anything, whatever you want. I'll donate to her favorite charity. I'll buy her a car, a building." Martin Bishop let the pathetic groveling hang in the air for a long, painful moment. "You don't get it, do you, Gregory?" Martin said, a note of genuine surprise in his voice. "You still think this is about money? You think you can buy your way out of this?" He snapped his fingers. The two large security men, who had been stone-faced and silent, were suddenly at Gregory's elbows. "Mr. Alden, I'm not going to ruin you," Martin said. A massive, shuddering sigh of relief escaped Gregory's chest. Thank you, sir. God, thank you." "You," Martin said, his voice flat, "are going to ruin yourself. You see, Gregory, you assaulted a woman. That is a crime, and unlike you, I believe in justice." He looked at his head of security. "Call the police, the real police, not Mr. Davies's 911 call. Get the commissioner on his private line. Tell him I am at the Gilded Compass and am a witness to an aggravated assault. Tell him I want his best detectives, and I want them here, now." The blood in Gregory's face, which had been gone, somehow managed to drain even further. "Police? Arrest? You can't. We can handle this. It's a civil matter. I'll write a check." "Take him to the private lounge," Martin ordered his men. "Do not let him leave. Do not let him make a phone call. His phone," he gestured to the prototype on the floor, "stays here. He is to wait for the detectives." "No," Gregory roared, and the beast was back. It was the last, desperate roar of a trapped animal. He tried to pull his arms free from the security guards who had taken hold of him. "You can't do this to me. Do you know who I am? I am Gregory Alden. I'll sue you. I'll sue this whole—" The two guards, with practiced, almost bored efficiency, lifted him slightly, taking his feet off the ground, and began to carry-walk him toward the back of the restaurant. His shouts of, "You can't do this!" and "I'll kill you all!" echoed, then were cut off as the door to the lounge slammed shut. The Gilded Compass was silent once more. The silence that descended on the restaurant was different from the one that had followed the slap. The first had been a shocked, horrified silence. This was a stunned, reverent one. The diners, who had been a captive audience, now seemed to realize they were breathing borrowed air. They were in the presence of a power so vast and quiet, it made Gregory Alden's loud, boorish wealth look like a child's tantrum. Martin Bishop turned away from the door his daughter's attacker had been dragged through, his expression smoothing. The iron was gone, replaced once more by the concerned father. He turned to Anna, who was standing, ghost-like, in the middle of the room, her apron still stained with food. "Let's go home, Anna Bean," he said softly, holding out his hand. Anna looked at his hand. Then she looked around the room, at Mr. Davies, who was still a crumpled, defeated heap on the floor, at the other waitstaff, who were peeking, wide-eyed, from the kitchen doors, at the diners who were now discreetly trying to pretend they hadn't been watching, their eyes dropping to their $500 steaks. She had failed. Her experiment in normalcy, in anonymity, had been a catastrophic disaster. She had wanted to prove she was more than her name, and in the end, her name was the only thing that could save her. She felt a profound, deep sense of shame. She shook her head. No. Martin's brow furrowed. No? Anna, you're in shock. Let's get you home. Dr. Evans can meet us there. No, Dad. She stepped away from him, her own 2 feet finding their purchase on the floor. The tremble was gone. I'm not going home. She walked over to the cowering Mr. Davies. She looked down at him, not with contempt, but with a cold, clear pity. Get up, Mr. Davies. Davies looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. Miss Bishop, he fired me. He did, Anna agreed, but I'm hiring you back. Martin Bishop's head snapped up. Anna, what are you doing? This man is a sycophantic coward. He let you get hurt. I know, Anna said, her eyes never leaving Davies. That's why he's perfect. Davies scrambled to his feet, confusion and a desperate, wild hope on his face. Perfect. Miss. I am not my father, Mr. Davies, Anna said, her voice carrying in the silent room. He would fire you for your weakness. I'm going to use it. You have a choice. You can leave here, disgraced, blacklisted from every fine dining establishment in the city. Or you can stay. You can stay and you can work for me. Work for you? Yes, me. Anna turned to her father. Dad, you gave me this job. You pulled the strings to get me hired as a waitress here, at the lowest level, so I could learn the business. You let me do my experiment. And I hated it. I hated every single second of it. I hated the invisibility. I hated the humiliation. And I hated the people. She looked out at the room of diners, who were now openly staring. But you were wrong about one thing, she said, turning back to Martin. You said I wouldn't find the people on the 60th floor. You were right. I didn't find the customers. I found my people. She gestured to the kitchen door, where the rest of the staff, the busboys, the other servers, the line cooks, the dishwashers, were all gathered, watching. They're the ones who are invisible. They're the ones who get treated like that. She pointed to the spot where Gregory had stood, every single night, by men half as rich and twice as cruel. And they don't have a dad to call. They don't have a panic button. They just have to take it. They have to take being called a thief. They have to take being humiliated. And sometimes they have to take a lot worse, all for a 10% tip on an 8,000 bottle of wine. She turned back to her father, and her eyes were shining, not with tears of pain, but with a new, terrifying clarity. I'm not going home, I'm staying, and I'm not going to be a waitress. Martin Bishop watched his daughter. He was not seeing the shy, mousy girl he'd worried about. He was seeing the woman she had just become. He was seeing his mother, a woman who had built a catering company from nothing into an empire. Then what are you going to be, Anna? He asked, a slow smile spreading across his face. I, Anna said, am going to be your new Senior Vice President of Hospitality Operations. And my first act, she said, her voice ringing with authority, is to buy this restaurant. Not just the building, Dad, the brand. I want the gilded compass, and I'm going to tear it down to the studs. Anna, Martin said, we already own it. It's just a subsidiary. Anna blinked. Oh, well, good. That saves us a step. She turned to the stunned room of diners. Ladies and gentlemen, she called out, her voice loud and clear. My name is Anna Bishop, and on behalf of the Gilded Compass, I want to apologize for the interruption to your meal, and also for the meal itself. A few nervous chuckles. This restaurant, she continued, has long been a symbol of, well, let's be honest, of this. She gestured to the entire, opulent, soulless room. A place where people with more money than sense can treat people who have neither like furniture. Well, as of tonight, That is over." She walked to the center of the room. "Your meals, of course, are comped, every single one of them. In fact, please, order more. Order the most expensive bottle of wine you can find, because this is the last meal the Gilded Compass will ever serve." The room gasped. "We are closing. Effective now. We will be reconcepting. And when we reopen, we will not be a restaurant for the Gregory Aldens of the world. We will be a restaurant for people. A place where the staff is treated with respect, paid a living wage, and never, ever has to endure what I just did." She turned to Mr. Davies. "Mr. Davies, your first act as my new, let's call you Director of Transitional Operations, is to go into the POA system. I want you to add an automatic, non-negotiable, 50% service gratuity to every single comped check tonight. And then I want you to go into the payroll system and give every single employee in this building, from the dishwashers to the sommeliers, a 100% bonus, effective immediately, drawn from Mr. Alden's sizable corporate account, which I'm sure my father will be liquidating in the morning." "Anna," Martin said, a warning tone. "Dad," Anna said, "you can't let a man who assaults women run a billion-dollar company on your dime. You just can't." Martin Bishop's smile was thin, but it was there. "The bank's board will be meeting at 7 a.m. to review its ethical exposure to Eldon Tech's line of credit. I suspect they will find it untenable." "Good," Anna said. "Mr. Davies, go." Davies, seeing his entire life flash back before his eyes, a new, better life where he was on the right side of the power, nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, Miss Bishop. Right away, Miss Bishop. A 50% gratuity and a 100% bonus. Yes, at once." He all but ran to the back office, a man reborn. Anna then turned to the kitchen staff, who were all watching her as if she were Joan of Arc. "And you," she called out. "My name is Anna. I'm your new boss, and I am so sorry for all of it. Go home to your families. You'll be paid for the next 6 months while we remodel, and when we reopen, I hope you'll all come back." A ragged, spontaneous cheer erupted from the kitchen. Finally, Anna walked back to her father. She was exhausted. She was drained, but she was standing tall. "So," Martin Bishop said, his eyes filled with a deep, profound pride. "SVP of Hospitality Operations, That's a big title." "I know," Anna said, a small smile playing on her lips. I think I'm going to need a new uniform." The next 12 hours were a blur. Gregory Alden was held in the Founder's Room by 2 of Martin Bishop's silent security men. He cycled from denial, "This is a test," to rage, "This is kidnapping," to pathetic bargaining, "I'll give you $100,000. Just let me go." The guards just stared, unmoved. At 2:37 a.m., 2 grim professional detectives arrived. They were not local beat cops. They were from the Special Victims Unit. Gregory tried to spin his story. "She was unstable, a con artist. I feared for my safety. It was self-defense." The lead detective let him finish, then slid a tablet across the table. "We have statements from 15 other diners, Mr. Alden. We also have this." She pressed play. It was a video from another diner's phone, showing the entire encounter, culminating in the brutal, high-definition slap. "And this," she said, sliding over a second tablet. "The security footage from directly above your table. This one has audio." Gregory didn't need to watch. He was done. He was arrested for assault and battery, and spent the night in a holding cell that smelled of bleach and despair. He, Gregory Alden, was in a concrete box. He finally got his one call to his lawyer, Peterson. "Peterson, get me out of here! I've been arrested!" "Gregory!" Peterson's voice was panicked. "What did you do? The Asian markets are open. Alden Tech. It's in freefall. It's down 40%. What are you talking about?" Gregory's stomach dropped. "There's a press release. Bishop Consolidated Bank has indefinitely frozen your entire line of credit, pending an internal ethics review." "He did it," Gregory whispered. "It was Martin Bishop Peterson. It was his daughter." There was a long, cold silence. "Gregory, what did you do to Martin Bishop's daughter?" I thought she was a waitress. I slapped her." The line went quiet again. "Peterson, are you there?" "I'm here," the lawyer said, his voice a funereal whisper. "I'm referring you to someone else. My firm. We have a conflict of interest. We do work for a Bishop subsidiary. I can't represent you." "What?" "I'm sorry, Greg. You shouldn't have hit her." The line clicked dead. At 7 a.m., Gregory's board convened an emergency meeting. By 7:05 a.m., they had voted unanimously to place him on indefinite leave. By 7:15 a.m., the story had leaked. Tech billionaire Gregory Alden arrested for assaulting a waitress. The diner's video went viral. Then came the twist that sealed his fate. Waitress in Alden assault scandal. Is Anna Bishop, heiress to Bishop Consolidated. He was finally released on bail at 10 a.m., a broken man. He stepped out of the precinct, not into his Maybach, but into a hurricane of cameras and reporters. "Mr. Alden, is it true you're being fired? Did you know she was Anna Bishop?" He scrambled into a cab, his hand over his face. As it pulled away, he saw his own raging face from the video, playing on a giant billboard. His company was gone. His reputation was gone. He was finished. 6 months later, the 60th floor reopened. The oppressive, gold leaf everything of the gilded compass was gone, replaced by a light, open space called simply the Compass. Anna Bishop stood at the host stand, her hair in a smart, professional style, her presence unmistakable. She was no longer a ghost. She was the one in charge. The new restaurant was a revolution. It was a non-profit where reservations couldn't be bought. They were earned by community heroes, teachers and artists. All profits were funneled directly into an employee ownership fund, making every staff member a partner. By the door, a framed plaque detailed the new Code of Conduct, ending with a clear, simple rule. Treat the staff with disrespect, and you will be asked to leave. No second chances. Looking across the room, Anna thought of Gregory Alden's upcoming trial. His lawyers had tried to cut a deal, but she refused. She would testify, not as a victim, but as a witness. At her urging, her father hadn't destroyed Alden Tech. He had fixed it. Bishop Consolidated bought the company, fired the corrupt board, and installed a new, ethical CEO. The hundreds of employees Gregory had cried about were all still employed, just under better leadership. Anna's experiment in anonymity hadn't been a failure. It was just the first step. In the wreckage of that night, she had found her purpose. She wasn't a shy waitress hiding in the shadows. She was Anna Bishop, the owner. And she was just getting started. That single, shocking slap was the end of Gregory Alden's world. But it was the beginning of Anna's. It's a powerful reminder that true strength isn't about how loud you can shout or how hard you can hit. It's about the voice you choose to use when you're at your lowest point. Anna was no longer an invisible girl. She was a force of nature. Gregory thought he was swatting a fly, but he had just poked a sleeping dragon. What did you think of Anna's transformation? Do you believe Gregory Alden got what he deserved, or was his downfall too complete? We've all had moments where we felt invisible or underestimated. What would you have done in Anna's shoes? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. This story is a testament to the fact that karma sometimes doesn't wait for the next life. If you loved this story of justice and unexpected power, please hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to see a bully get what's coming to them, and, of course, subscribe to the channel for more dramatic, real-life stories just like this one. We read all your comments, and your support is what makes this possible. Thank you for listening.